Hi, and welcome to this ForNAV coffee break. My name is René Brummel. I'm a product specialist at ForNAV, and I will be your presenter today. As this coffee break is live, you can ask your questions via the GoToWebinar question window. We will answer them at the end of the coffee break. Today, we're going to print large HTML texts across multiple Business Central report pages. As we have determined in earlier coffee breaks, ForNAV can render and display HTML in reports. This is useful because it enables users to write formatted text inside Business Central and print it in the same format on their reports. Unfortunately, until now, this text will be broken off when it becomes too long. To have this HTML text be displayed across multiple pages, we need to split it into several parts. In ForNAV 7.3, we have introduced an HTML splitter temporary table. It sounds complex, but it's easy to use, as I will demonstrate. Today, to demonstrate splitting HTML text, I'm going to use these steps. Prerequisites, what do I need to get going? In step 2, I will split text from the ForNAV text storage. In step 3, I will split the item marketing text. In step 4, I will split text from a custom extension. Let's start with the first step. Today, I will work in a Business Central on-premise server with the Business Central 2023 Wave 2 release. I've installed the universal code version of the ForNAV customizable report pack, and I have executed the step-by-step wizard from the assisted setup to get started. Please note that you need the 7.3 release of the customizable report pack to use the HTML splitter. Of course, everything I do today will work for a cloud environment as well. I've also installed the ForNAV Designer, which can be downloaded from the ForNAV website. The first thing we will do is split text from the ForNAV text storage into separate blocks. So what is the ForNAV text storage? We'll have a look. ForNAV text storage is a new table in ForNAV 7.3, and that table it's a lot like the ForNAV file storage table, where we have a code and a type, so you can link it to existing data in Business Central. In the text storage, you also have a language, because obviously you might have your language in English, German, French, or whatever language you want to use. And then we have the preview text, and if you click that, you open the text editor, which is just a plain standard Microsoft rich text editor, where you can type text and format it to your heart's content. I've just pasted some text in there from the Lorem Ipsum, which is just some demo text, and I've added some colors. And I've added these colors to demonstrate how this text is going to be split. The way the text splitter works in ForNAV is that it splits text whenever it encounters an empty line. So that this text will be splitted right here because this is an empty line. Let's go and try this. I am going to open my ForNAV report. Just open the standard sales order report. And of course, I've prepared an order. With the data that I'm going to need today. And if I preview that right now, we will see it's just a plain sales order with 2 items and some text. First thing I want to do is add my ForNAV text at the bottom of this report. To do so, I'm going to add a data item. This data item is going to be the ForNAV text storage, and of course I need to specify a data item link. And that data item link, as we've determined, is going to be the language, because I want to set this to the language of the that the report is being printed in. So that's the first one. Then I'm going to set the data item table view, and in this data item table view, of course, code is going to be sales, as we saw, and type is going to be test. So that's that. Then we need a body section to display our text. So we'll add a body section. Call it ForNAV text body. We'll set this body to can grow, because obviously we don't know how high the HTML text is. And then in here, I will add my ForNAV text storage. I'm going to add the code. and I add that for demo purposes later on. And I'm going to add the text. Text, of course, being the stored HTML formatted text. And of course, we want this to grow automatically as well. For it to use can grow, we need to set the text alignment to the top. So that's that. Now, if I preview this, on my report, you will notice that the text isn't displaying at the bottom here. It is displaying in a new page. And that's because I haven't actually enabled the text splitter yet. So what I get right now is just a plain HTML text, which is not being split. And you can see that right here, because at the bottom, my text is broken off and it's not continuing on the next page. So how do I get it to continue on the next page? To do so, simply open the ForNAV text storage, scroll down, set temporary to true. And that also, because this is a virtual data item, sets auto-populate to true. And if I preview my report right now, you will notice that on the first page, I get all of the text blocks until I run out of space. And on the second page, I get the rest of my text blocks. And I've added the code in the front here because, as you may be aware, we need to split this. And to split this, we need specific codes, and we simply add 001 to the code field in order to be able to create these multiple records that split the text. So really as easy as this. Microsoft have recently, and I think that was in BC22, introduced marketing text on the item table. This text is stored in the entity text table, which is a universal table where you can store HTML formatted text. With the ForNAV HTML temporary table, you can automatically read this entity text from several source tables and display it across multiple pages in your report, which means that if I have my items, and you might be wondering why I use this specific order with these specific items. Well, that's obviously because I've added marketing text on these two items. So I've got the marketing text for the bicycle, which starts with purple and it ends with gray. And I use colors in all of these demos because that's instantly recognizable, at least for most people. And on the next, I've got the marketing text, which starts with gray and it ends with purple, pink, whatever color you want to make it. So I want to display these in my report, and obviously I want them to split so the text continues on the next page. To do so, go back to ForNAV, add a new data item. In there, I'm going to find my ForNAV HTML table, and ForNAV HTML table is also a new table in ForNAV 7.3. So it didn't exist before. I don't need a data item link. This table is going to be a temporary table, which means it's a virtual table that exists only in memory, never contains any data in your database. And all of the data, all of the code to get the data you need is actually inside the ForNAV report pack. So I don't need to do anything other than add my body, which I'm going to call the marketing body, which again, I said can grow to yes. I find my ForNAV HTML and I add my entry number for the same reason as I added the code in the ForNAV text storage table. Just need something to split on, something to make this stuff unique. So that is set to can grow. I'm going to set my text, where am I? Set my text to top left. Set my text to can grow as well. And by the way, before I forget, whenever you add the HTML or the text or any other blob field inside the ForNAV report, ForNAV will automatically add that blob field to the calculated fields, and you need your blob field in here in order to be calculated. Otherwise, you simply get an empty box in your report. ForNAV will do it automatically, but if your HTML isn't shown, isn't displayed, then this is probably the reason why. So I've got my ForNAV HTML data item. Of course, I need to set that temporary, otherwise I won't get any data. That should be enough. Let's preview this report. There we go. So on my bicycle, I've got my text that starts with pinkish purple and ends with gray. And on my touring bicycle, you will notice we don't have enough space to print everything, but it simply continues on the second page. And you will see again the entry numbers. It continues numbering because they are actually separate records inside my temporary table. So the HTML gets split up into separate blocks, into separate entries in a virtual table. All very technical. All that you need to know is that it is easy to use. And then we come to the final bit of this demonstration, because finally we want to get the text from a third-party extension. A lot of ForNAV partners have a little extension where users can already type formatted text. And we've had a lot of questions. How do we get the text? How do we split the text from our own text editors into separate blocks? Well, we can do that as well. And to demonstrate this, I have created a little extension with a simple blob field. And I've called it my texts. And this is really plain. I've got a code and a type. Code is test, type is RBR. We need to remember that. And if I open that, you will see that I've just got some formatted text in there. And just to liven things up, I've added the ForNAV logo as well. If we have a look at the source of this table, you will see that this table contains three fields. I've got my code, I've got my type, and I've got my blob field. And what we need to determine is the number of the blob field, because we need to tell ForNAV where to get the data from. Now let's go to ForNAV. Let's add a data item again. And this time I need to get my text in two steps, because I need to tell ForNAV first where to get the source table from, which is the PTE my text. I'm going to move this right up to the top of my report. And this table I'm not going to make temporary because I need the actual table with the actual data, but I do of course need to tell ForNAV which table to get. So code is test, type is RBR, and that gets me the table. And then instead of just adding my blob field right here, which will give me the non-splitted HTML, I want to split the HTML. And to do that, I'm going to add the ForNAV HTML table to this data item, which is called ForNAV HTML2. This I'm going to set to temporary. And now I need to tell ForNAV where to get the blob field, where to get the text from the source record. And to do so, I need to specify a filter, and that filter says the HTML source type, and the source type can be entity text, which is the default, which is why the entity text, the marketing text, worked without any configuration at all. In this case, I'm going to use a blob field, and I need to tell ForNAV that the blob field number, and that is field number 3, as we determined right here in our extension. Back to ForNAV, hit OK here, and again insert a body, my text body. And the reason why I add these specific section names is that in ForNAV we work with templates, and working with templates is a lot easier if you actually name your sections. So I name them automatically, can't help it anymore. Set can grow to yes, and then make sure to grab ForNAV HTML2. Otherwise we don't get any actual data. And again, use the entry number, use the HTML. And set tag, here we go. Alignment top left, can grow to yes. Preview the report. There we go. Here we have the text from our custom table, where we start with the pinkish, then we get the ForNAV logo. And you will see that the ForNAV logo simply continues in the whole splitting process. Then we get the rest of the text. It gets split on entry number 7, and then we get light blue and gray. Let's recap what we just did. We have added HTML text from the ForNAV storage, the entity text, and the custom table. We found that each was easy to use, though the custom table did require some more configuration. What is important to remember here is that the HTML splitter splits by the BR HTML tag, and this tag is automatically inserted when you add an empty line in the HTML editor. The BR is simply a break, which is standard HTML for just a little bit of empty space. ForNAV will never split tables or images. So if you have a table with a BR inside it, that will never be split. It will always be kept in one place, which also means that if you have a really long table, it will not get split across multiple pages. And we have done that because splitting a table will, if you split a table in HTML, you will end up with a slightly different rendered row for every table, and it will simply not look very nice. So tables will not get split. We've decided on this scenario as it is the least aggressive method of splitting HTML, and it gives you some control over where your HTML will be split by ForNAV. I've shown you that you can use the ForNAV HTML table on a custom table as a virtual data item, but the ForNAV HTML table also has an API inside the ForNAV report pack. You can actually open it and find it and use it inside your code. So you can use the ForNAV HTML splitting inside your own extension if you want to. And of course, the code for the custom tables and the layout that I've used today are all in the GitHub repository. Thank you for listening to me so far. I'm going to check if we have any questions, and we do. When will 7.3 be available? It is being released as we speak, so it should be released, should be out for the general public by the end of this week. I have another question. Is it possible to print the empty lines between the text blocks, maybe with a special line break sign? If you add a second break, then it will print the empty line between the breaks. I suggest you play around with your ForNAV HTML editor, and of course you can always add an empty text box or an empty block at the end of your HTML body. So that looks like all of the questions. So I will wrap up this coffee break. If you want to know more about ForNAV, or if you want to download the ForNAV Designer and Converter, please visit our website. If you want to install ForNAV in Business Central Cloud, please visit the Microsoft App Stores. You can watch more videos about ForNAV on our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions about ForNAV, please email them to support@fornav.com. For a full list of upcoming and recorded coffee breaks, please visit fornav.com/coffeebreak. Thank you very much for joining me today, and goodbye.